is Patrick Murphy. I work at Prism Supply, and this is my 1948 Panhead chopper. It was the first bike I have ever built. This is for real. The first chopper I saw was Derek's. It was Derek's Evo chopper that he's got. And I was like, dang, I didn't know motorcycles could look like that. Like, that's pretty cool. And so that was the first bike I saw that really inspired me to want to build a chopper. This is the second version of this bike. I found it not from me, but one of my close friends up in Milwaukee. He saw this ad and he sent it to me. He said, hey, I don't have time to go pick up this bike. Do you want to go pick up this bike? And it was same motor and trans and front end, but it was a lot crustier, a lot more rough. It was like a true classic 70s chopper that I just mechanically restored and then painted a little bit differently. And I rode that for about 2 months, and then I just got clobbered by a car in downtown Milwaukee. And now here we have this thing. When I got hit, I was like, I've always wanted to just test my abilities. So I'm like, I feel like I can probably learn how to weld. I feel like I can probably learn how to paint. I just don't really have the reason to try it out. So when I got hit, it was kind of the perfect time to go, all right, well, let's just see what I can do. I want to learn everything I possibly can and try and do it all myself so that I can say that I did it. It was just a thing for me I wanted to learn. The only thing that is the same is the motor, transmission, and then the front end. Everything else is new, either purchased but mostly made by me. Some of the parts I made were the Sissy bar. I drew probably about like 50 different shapes for the Sissy bar. And I ultimately ended up with the way it looks now, just for looks and also for kind of on purpose. It's asymmetric, so I can have a nice spot to hold my hand when I'm kickstarting it. That was like the main reason. The exhaust, the foot pegs, they're Prism Supply foot pegs and controls, and I just drew some inspiration from a guy who was in Built Weld People's Champ a couple years ago, HF Craig. All the welding on the frame was a lot different than the way it looks now. It was kind of like a farm job, like real chicken coop special of a frame, just really not that great. I cut a lot of the stuff off of it, fixed a lot of the things, windowed the neck and did some gusseting and stuff up there. These fins, I always saw like fins that people would do that were like big and full, and like this area would be full, like sheet metal and whatnot. And I was just doodling around in Photoshop, and I thought it'd be cool to make some that aren't full, but instead are like windowed in a way. I did a little guy down here, and then there's another one on the other side, which is actually the mechanical brake stay. I've never seen that before, personally. There's a really high likelihood that some guy in the 70s who's built like 30 choppers, he probably did that, and I don't know. But I had not seen that before, and I thought it was cool, so I wanted to try it out. The risers I really like a lot. I didn't make these. I wish I could say I did, but this was made by one of my friends up in Michigan, Seth Elkin, who welded these up. And then the taillight. Before working at Prism, I worked at Milwaukee Tool. I was a design engineer on lighting there, and I've always wanted to do my own taillight because I knew how to do it. But I was always bothered by a lot of times the LEDs on LED taillights just have to kind of be there, and they're not really part of the design. They're just in some random array, and I thought it'd be cool to make the LEDs as part of the design. So the LEDs on the board inside the taillight are spaced out so that they look like dots on the dice. Really lucky I have a really talented friend, Emery Salberg, who's like a super engineer, and without him that wouldn't have been possible. All seats kind of look the same, and I wanted to do something a little unique, a little different. So I made the pan, and then I dropped it off to Dave Coppa Sr. He sculpted the foam to be what I wanted, and I just sent a photo of the top of the foam to my girlfriend, Courtney. I was like, just draw whatever you want. Just literally draw whatever you want on here, kind of match the style of the bike. And I sent her photo off to Dave, and a week later, he came back with this thing, and he crushed it. He did a really good job. A lot of the things that I did design-wise, it was so that it would still look good, but also be able to be ridden. You can't see it, and that's on purpose, but underneath the seat, there's actually an oil filter that screws into the tank on the inside. This gas tank, I wanted to do a fully molded in gas tank, but I was warned by a lot of people who have ridden a lot more than me and know a lot more than me that I'd probably regret doing that. So instead of it being fully molded in, there's 2 bolts, 3/8 bolts that go in through the bottom, and then there's threaded bungs inside the gas tank. I've ridden this quite a lot, and it's pretty rigid on there, and it looks pretty good. The paint's not rubbing off, nothing's been leaking yet. I just change those washers out every so often, and it's holding up pretty good. So I was trying to build it to be ridden as best I could, and I'm pretty happy with how much I've been able to ride it so far. I've only lost one bolt. I lost my rear exhaust header bolt, but Johnny had one bolt. He literally had one bolt, I kid you not, in his tool bag, and it was the bolt that I needed, and it worked perfect. And that's honestly the same one that's in there right now, because it hasn't came out, so why would I change it? This wouldn't have been possible without people. Like, this is not just me. If it was just me, I would probably not be done, and it would look like absolute garbage. It would not look good at all. I feel like I've been really lucky in a lot of ways with this bike. I had a ton of help from tons of people in Milwaukee. So Josh Kirpius, Sworn Iyer, Chris Graves, Kendall, can't forget about Kendall, about made Kendall lose his mind asking him too many questions about paint, because I knew literally nothing about paint. I'm gonna say Little Chris. He hates being called Little Chris, but I can't pronounce his last name. Courtney, my girlfriend, she was sanding body filler and sanding primer in our basement back in Milwaukee when I painted this bike in the basement at like 2 a.m. on a work night. Motorcycle dudes all look tough and scary, but the majority of them are really nice people. So I think that was really surprising to me. I feel like this bike has just opened up a whole new section of the world that I didn't even know existed. And I feel really lucky to meet all the people and talk to all the people that are part of it. And I feel like I'm just keep on learning from it. I feel like I need to touch on the sunglasses. That's important to me. It's important enough to me. Right now, I'm wearing these sunglasses, which is a pair of glasses that you can buy from us at Prism Supply. So if you go to our website, you can buy these. They've got this little cover thing on the side to stop air from blowing around the back. It's really nice. We sell them in green and white as well. I'm bringing this up just because typically I'm wearing these sunglasses that are octagons, and I really like them a lot, but I lost them. And so I'm due to purchase the octagon sunglasses again, but it's gonna be the first time I've ever purchased them, because the first go around they were my girlfriend's and I just stole them. So I think I'm overdue for purchasing them anyways, but I just wanted to touch on that. I feel really out of my element without my octagon sunglasses. I didn't realize those were such a safety net for me.